The following podcast contains spoilers and adult language, and your own personal Dixie cup filled with mama's blood. And it, tastes like sunshine, I guess?
And the lights are all trippy.
This is a message from the Office of Emergency Preparedness. Due to the recent crisis, we ask that you remain in your homes. Do not attempt to communicate or interact with the creatures, even if they are people you know.
Lock your doors. Bar your windows. Evil is coming. It's time for Aim for the Head, a horror apocalypse entertainment podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Diana and Steve.
Hi, welcome back to Aim for the Head podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm tripping balls. I'm Steve, too. What's up?
And this week, we are rising up, and we're joining the Grey Rebellion. Yes!
Woo-hoo!
This week, we're obviously chatting about episode 6 of the Boroughs. Title of the episode is Grey Rebellion. If it's your first time here, folks, thanks for listening. Our usual format is, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the episode, we go through just real quick play-by-play of who liked the what did we think of the episode upon our very first watch. And Steve, you went first last week for our previous episode, so it is my turn to go first and give my quick thoughts on the episode. So, Diana, what are your quick thoughts? Well, Diana,
yes,
let me tell
Diana. And if you let me participate, I would have said that.
Yeah. Okay, so Grey Rebellion. It was really good. I felt like, first of all, I was very surprised by the scene where Wally on the porch basically is like, let me give you the entire history, and we still have 2 episodes to go. It felt very finale-esque. So I appreciate a lot of the stuff this show where they're giving us answers on certain things right away, and it's interesting. But I'm still curious because it feels very like, ooh, the next episode is going to be the finale. You know what I mean? Like that kind of build, and there's still 2 more to go. So I'm very curious how this is going to sort of play out over the next 2 episodes. But anyway, so good episode. Like I said, surprised to get some of the detail that we did, but enjoy it. Yeah, and it was good. It's interesting. One of the things we loved about the last episode was getting the Scooby Gang all back together, and then they sort of fracture a bit in this episode. So I guess that's probably the impetus of what's going to be the next few, is they fracture a bit in this episode, and they probably are going to be working a little bit separately in the next episode and come together in the finale, I suppose. Boy,
I know nothing.
You, ye who have watched the whole season. Yeah, great episode. Sort of like that I don't know how it's going to play out. So, yeah. How about you? What did you think of Grey Rebellion?
I liked it. I'm right there with you. What I thought was really great about it was exactly what you just said, is that we got and I'm just gonna throw out the Walking Dead franchise here, and just kind of say that, how many seasons did we go where you get to like maybe the penultimate or final episode, and you're like, man, they haven't really done anything yet, you know what I mean? And you're just
got a
waiting.
long ways to go.
Yeah, you know what I mean, for if they're gonna do any of the stuff they talked about doing, and here, what I really love about this episode, and really the last 3, is that, first of all, this was the longest of the last 3. This one clocked in at 48 minutes.
Yes,
and I think last week was 42, and then the week before, 3 episodes ago or 2 episodes ago, it was 45. So again, not a lot of TV time. It's only 48 minutes, and then, you have to figure a couple minutes of that are credits, a couple minutes of that are previously. I mean, so it's less. It's almost we're almost down to 40 minutes, which is not much, and yet they still have pushed the plot quite far, and you can just see that this episode is the setup episode for the final act of this story, right?
Yes,
yes. Everything that happens in that, the Scooby Gang, they kind of, what does Judy say at one point, the missing piece of the puzzle?
Yes,
right?
Yes, which I thought was a really interesting way to put it, since we keep seeing those puzzle pieces.
Yes. And and I think from an audience standpoint, that's she's exactly right. It's like, okay, you know what? Now we know what's going on. And and so now it's how do we, and by we I mean the Scooby Gang, how do they stop it? How do they win? How do they vanquish the bad guys? Whatever way you want to express it, how do they wrap up the story? And just by how this episode clocks out, where Sam, of course, ends up in the manor at the end, and at the same time Paz has got the escape plan. And all these, it's like you can just see, it's like all of these plans are now going to go into motion for the last two episodes. And I really like that. And again, this episode moved along quite well. I thought it was a very, very strong Wally episode. That I'm sure we'll get into a lot of, he really kind of drove a lot of the story in terms of decisions that he kind of made for the group. And at the same time we also get a little bit more with Sam and his daughter, who again this is why you don't have children, people, is so and even then, I mean, there was still some weirdness in there as well with like the Lily on all the TVs, and I mean there was definitely some going on, but at the same time, it's like pretty much, okay, you know what, all of the pieces are on the board now, and now we can finish the game. And that's what I thought was really, really great, because unlike most shows, usually that happens in the second to last episode, the penultimate. And here we have two more episodes now where it's going to be, can we rescue Sam? Can we get away? Or if we follow Renee's plan, can we kill the mama monster thing? Or are the bad guys going to win? And that's what we get to find out. So yeah, I was right there with you. I thought this episode not quite as funny. I think it's definitely got a little bit more serious because the circumstances are a little more dire. But but still, it was a real fun watch. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So moving on, let's discuss a quick episode description. We'll do a little play-by-play on the writer and director of the episode, and then get into our finer points of the episode. And so, Steve, why don't you get us started off with the episode description, and we'll move on from there.
Sure, absolutely. All right, so this, once again, is the Netflix series, the recently canceled Netflix series, the Boroughs, episode 1.6, and the title is The Grey Rebellion. And our description from our chatbots are as follows. With the entire gang under Blaine's thumb, Sam desperately seeks a way out. Art and Judy hit a breaking point, and Wally gets a taste of a new life. Huh?
You see what they did there?
Those chatbots, I tell you, somebody throw some humor. That probably drained about half Lake Michigan for them to come up with that. So pretty cool. But that is your episode description, and I think that's fair. I think that does a pretty decent job. It really doesn't go into specifics, but that's not what we needed to do. I think that's certainly better than some of the descriptions we've gotten for things in the past. So well done, chatbots. Well done.
Yes.
For now. That's right. Please don't kill us. All right. So our writer and our director, we get a little new and a little old, but the new is actually kind of old at the same time. And I know you're asking, Steve-O, how can that be? Well,
what does that mean?
Our something old is the director, and that is a gentleman named Kyle Patrick Alvarez, which is the same guy who directed last week's episode. If you remember that. And like I said, not a lot of credits if you remember from last week. He the biggest things that he did is he directed 7 episodes of the TV show Homecoming, and he directed 4 episodes of the TV series 13 Reasons Why. And those were kind of the bigger things. Then he directed a thing called Boots and a thing called Crater as well. And both of those are very recent. And his credits are, like I said, he's just he's only been really, working on big time projects like this for a few years now. So he's really like, in the beginning stages of his career. So anyway, that's our director. And then our writer is a gentleman named, and I apologize if I get the name wrong. His name is James, and I'm going to say Schmass, I'm not sure. Schamus. Seamus? I don't know. I don't know how you pronounce it. I apologize for butchering it. And this dude, he's a consulting producer on the Boroughs, as well as the writer of this episode. And this dude has tons and tons of cred, producing, writing, and directing. I mean, he goes back a long way. And just touching on some of the things he did, he was the producer and a co-writer of the film Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which he worked very closely with Ang Lee. He's really teamed up with him on a bunch of stuff. He also is a producer and the writer of a really great movie called The Ice Storm. With Sigourney Weaver, and I mean it's a great movie. Kevin Kline and all-star cast. If you've never seen it, it's from about I'd say it's got to be almost 20 years old by now. Right back in the early aughts kind of a thing. He was the producer of Brokeback Mountain. And he wrote the screenplay for the 2003 version of the Hulk, which is the Eric Bana Hulk. If you remember that one from that was the first version of the Hulk that they came out with, was Eric Bana. Then the second one, they brought in Ed Norton, and then no one could stand Ed Norton, so then they moved on to Mark Ruffalo for all the future ones after that. So I mean, this dude, worked in the industry a long, long time and has worked on Oscar-winning stuff, man. That he himself won Oscars for. So incredibly talented guy, and like I said, he's a consulting producer on here. And I'm guessing part of the enticement to get him on board was they let him write an episode, and here we go. So there you are. So that is your writer and your director.
Excellent. So let's talk first, as we normally do when any show has one, let's talk a little bit about Cold Open, which we both included in our individual notes for the episode. For me personally, I had two moments that I really enjoyed in that Cold Open, which basically shows our Scooby Gang being brought into the manor. They've got hoods and stuff over their eyes so they can't see, which is kind of crazy because then they take them off and it's obvious where they are. So, interesting. And they live there, so it's not like they don't know how to get from that bar where they were picked up to the manor at the Boroughs. It's obvious, but whatever. I'm just poking holes. Don't mind me.
I don't know. You're poking pretty big ones.
Yeah, but it's a good one, isn't it, right? Why would you do that? It's all for visuals. Anyway, so I thought there were two moments that I really, really liked. They bring them in, they've got the hoods on, they sit them down on the park bench, or it's like the bus stop bench that was right in the middle of the common space, right in the middle. And so they sit them down, and Sam immediately gets agitated. We didn't do anything. We're not, why are we here, right? And one of the orderlies or one of the people in charge leans over, puts their finger in the shush gesture right up to his mouth with the hood on and just goes,
do you know who that was?
No,
that was the guy who told Sam in a couple episodes ago to not rile up Edward.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
He's Pakistani or Indian, maybe, and
yeah. And I do remember he was in a previous episode. I recognized him as being one of the manor people, but I didn't remember specifically that. But it's been a few weeks. But I loved the shush, and then there's the back up with the camera to the reveal that there's two people watching from up above, and it's Blaine, and he turns, and then the other person turns, and it's Wally, and Wally doesn't have a mask and a thing on his head, and Blaine just says, "What'll it be, Wally?" and the other stuff happens in the cold open, obviously, but to me, like, those were those 2 points in the cold open that I really liked, because it was like you said, not as much humor in this episode. It starts to get a little bit more serious because of the thing, and this was definitely a serious, kind of creepy, you don't know what's happening kind of scene, and really liked it. How about you? Let's talk about your thoughts about the cold open too.
Yeah. Again, I really liked it. And I think just in general, I applaud this show in that most of the episodes, I'm not counting with episode 1, obviously, because episode 1 is the first thing we're doing, right? But almost all of the episodes from 2 on, when the first opening scene is almost always directly following how the previous episode ended. So there's very little of this, we're going to jump to a totally different, part of the story here and start this next episode. Even though we know all of you people are clamoring for the what just happened at the end of the last one, you know what I mean? And they do a good job of rewarding the audience that way and being like, no, we're just, you want to know? Here you go. So, again, this is on full display because, when they bring them in and they're all, like you said, they're all like, bundled up and they're blindfolded and they've got like goggles over their ski masks or whatever they were doing. You know what I mean? They were like seriously, like blinded and have their senses deprived. You know what I mean? And then they set them down, and of course you get that first shot, and you think you're outside because it's the sky that's painted on the frickin' manor wall, right? The sky, the sort of Arizona desert scene that's there, and then it kind of slowly pans down, and you're like, oh no, they're not outside, and then the whole thing where I mean, it's they're all there, but the whole opening sequence hinges on Wally. I mean, it's all, Blaine and his minions are totally making this pitch to Wally and using them as leverage, right? You don't want to see your friends suffer, yes. Wally, right? That whole thing.
Right. Do this for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then when Wally comes in and he sort of goes, okay, so here's the deal. He's like, we get to go back and live our lives. You can't tell anyone ever. You can't, for a few days, you can't leave the manor or you can't leave the Boroughs. And you have to stop hunting the monsters. Right. And they're like, immediately they're like, no deal. And Sam especially is like, hells no. And I think Judy's like, yeah, I'm with Sam, and so on. And Wally just kind of looks at him and goes, I already said yes, and they're like, why? And he's like, look around. We lost. You know what I mean? He's just like, they control everything. You know what I mean? We have no shot, and what does he say? Yeah. We were just senile enough to think we could beat them, and,
yeah.
And yeah, I thought that was really fun, and a really great way to kind of get the episode ramped up and going. And that, that clearly Blaine knows that they know, or at least that they know a lot of what's going on, right? And now he is sort of, I don't forget, Annalise was seriously messed up by the gang last week. Shot and all that stuff. And so there's, he has retribution and payback in mind. And yet apparently they get this kind of sweetheart deal when you think about it, right?
Right.
And so you're also kind of left with this, wow, why the change of heart, Blaine? Why are you not just, killing them and then, hiding their bodies in the desert, and so on. I did love the moment where, I think, doesn't Wally say something like, they promise that, they won't kill us, and Renee's like, yeah, just like Hank, when he like tried to kill me, and Wally's like, no, they swear that was he was acting rogue, and she's like, well, as long as they swore on it or something, you know what I mean? Like, well, okay, yeah. I guess that makes it okay, but yeah,
it makes it safe.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that scene, it was great. I loved how it just got you. In and running for this episode, and I'm right there with you. I thought it was great.
Great. I liked my number 2. I loved when Sam is reacting to being, they're all let go, they're put back in their homes, whatever. And, we get this sort of establishing shot of like a security or IT person. They're sort of setting up like a camera, like a wireless camera that's gonna, observe their neighborhood. To be fair, I'm surprised they didn't have that stuff already in place, but whatever. They do make that comment about how so much of their technology is like it's like old stuff from like the 50s, from when they first opened. So they're all sort of like slowly but surely updating certain things. So I can give it up to that. But anyway, so you see surveillance starting to happen, and then you see Sam back inside his house, and it shows him waking up and then realizing like he doesn't want to go anywhere or do anything because they're kind of like prisoners inside the Boroughs and prisoners in their homes, kind of. So there's this 3-act structure where he swears 3 different times, and it's hilarious. He wakes up and swings his legs out of bed, and you see that he's got an ankle monitor. So obviously they all must have them. So he's got the ankle monitor, and you see him putting his feet into his slippers. He looks down at the ankle monitor, and he just goes, oh, fuckers. And it's like under his breath. Then he he sort of slippers, on and sort of shuffles out into the main living room, and he goes in and he sits down, turns on the TV, and the TVs are all set up to have like this, like in the hotels where they have those ads that run as soon as you turn the TV on.
The 24-hour infomercial.
Right, and that's what they have there too. You turn it on. So he turns it on, and he immediately has an ad for the Boroughs on there, and it's Annalise and Blaine talking about, being at the Boroughs. And it just shows, it cuts from the TV and shows his face, and he just was like, oh, fuckers. And he's getting more agitated at that. And then he looks out of the corner of his eye, and he sees his stove, and there's like a plate that's been added to the bottom of it, almost like it looks like they, I can't tell what he's angry here, I will admit. Is it that he thinks closed it off, or that they haven't closed it off? Because they did say, we'll take you out of the rotation, was part of the thing. So if his stove is still, if his oven is still open, but I couldn't tell. It looked like there was a new plate at the bottom. Either way, whatever it is about his oven that he is upset about, then, so it was started out with the under the breath, fuckers, to fuckers when he's on his couch, and then he sees the stove and he gets upset and he's like, fuckers, and he goes in there. He's like, I would assume he's upset that they didn't close it off in some way or remove it in some way, because right after he sees the state of the oven, that's when he sets up all that stuff in the kitchen to be like, nobody's coming through on my watch.
That's what I took from it. That the stove is still there, that they didn't remove it, right? That they didn't close it off, do whatever that you would think they would do. Because again, Wally said that, they're not gonna, the things aren't gonna come into our houses anymore and suck all of our brain fluid out. We're out of the rotation, right? So we're okay, And so when then he wakes up the next morning or whenever it was they got back, and he sees, well, damn it, the stove is still there, and I think that was sort of the proverbial last straw for Sam going along with this deal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that's my number 2 is Sam and his quickly escalating.
I think all of us who know that you're a person from Massachusetts totally understands absolutely why that resonated with you the way that it did.
Yes, the F word resonates with me quite often. All right, let's talk about your number 2, because it is also, it connects to my number 3. But let's talk your number 2.
So Wally, part of the deal that he struck with Blaine is that Wally is going to, and you can't see this, but trust me, I'm using air quotes here, go to work for Blaine. And when he
Yes.
tells the rest of the Scooby Gang, they're like, doing what? And he's like, I don't know. So clearly it was very vague, but they want him to help them or do something. And since he's a doctor, you have to assume it's got to be some kind of a medical thing. And I think he says something like they were impressed with like the bait that they made. Remember when they sucked out Sam's brain spinal fluid and used it in the humidifier to lure the I think it wasn't Scar, but it was one of the children, one of the monsters, and in that episode. So that whole thing, they were like, damn, you guys, that's pretty resourceful, well done. And so, they've recruited him. So he goes to work then, like the next day or a day later or something. And I just laugh. First of all, and this is one of my honorable mentions, but I thought the music for this episode was amazing. Just so many great choices all the way through. But this particular one just cracked me up in that Wally walks into his lab where he's going to work, and they have this little party there. They got a table, and they've got food and cupcakes and all this stuff, right? And all these people are in there, including Blaine and his wife. And they, like, this is not like soundtrack music. This is like music that is playing in that room, like either on like a boombox or a music player of some kind, or maybe on the Muzak for the building. I don't know, but it is diegetic in that they all can hear it, right? It's not just for the audience. Yeah. And the song that's playing is "Rock the Boat."
So great.
Oh, it is.
It's so great.
So wonderful. Like, first day, come on, Wally, don't rock the boat. You know what I mean? It's like, don't tip the boat over. You got to kind of go with the flow here. Oh, yeah.
I literally, the first time through, I was like, ooh, I love the words didn't penetrate, and I know the song. I was just like, ooh, I like the song, and I was like, ooh, funky, groovy, And then the second time through, I was like, are they really playing Rock the Boat?
Don't rock the boat, baby. Rock the boat. Don't tip the boat over.
It's a funky groove and also
foreshadowing. Absolutely. So yeah, I just laughed. But then that goes into just a great scene. And I know, you have your next point is part of it, but I just wanted to point out that initially, when Wally comes in there, Blaine is like, you must have like the worst thoughts about all of us, and Wally's like, yep, pretty much, and Blaine is literally like, get to know us, what you're going to find out that we're not that bad, and that, it's everything, basically trying to like talk him off the ledge that they're all these horrible people. And yet at the end of that scene, when he starts telling Wally what he's going to be doing, and literally he says, you're going to be taking care of a patient, and if this patient dies, trust me, you and all your friends are going to be the first people to be killed. I mean, it's like ominous. And you're like, oh, what happened to them? We're good people.
Oh, my God. Yes. And another part of the scene that I thought was great, the way, like, when he comes in, they're literally, like, toasting him. They're, like, getting ready to toast him, as it were, because they've got, like, it's got all the way down to the details. Like, it says, like, welcome Wally on the wall, like a little little banner thing, like, where you would say happy birthday. Instead it says, like, welcome Wally. And his welcome there is, they say to him, welcome to the winning team, Wally. And I'm like, that really that says it all right there. Like, we are pretty confident here, that's for sure. Love it. So we pivot back to, there's a lot of really great scenes of, like, while Wally is doing his research stuff there, we get different factions, sort of creating there between, Art and Judy doing their thing.
Kind of Art and Judy kind of like continuing their breakup.
I know. And that in and of itself, so it's like, you assume they're going to be a united front, because they kind of were in the previous episode. And then now that they're sort of stuck where they are, you can see the fracture is just like last episode was a Band-Aid. Yeah. The Band-Aid came off. So there's that scene, their scenes. Then you've got Paz and Renee who are sort of figuring out their stuff too. Meanwhile, then we've got Sam back at his place, and fuckers, and he is so angry at the fact that even though they were promised the whole, you will be taken out of the rotation, and I'm using air quotes, the oven is still, all you have to do is, crack it open. And he sets up this whole thing, but it kind of malfunctions. And let's talk about that, because that's your number 3 there. So let's talk about Sam and his scene in the kitchen where he's putting together a little trap, as it were.
Yeah.
And how that works out for him.
You can tell he took all of the TVs that they clearly had piled up in the bedroom for the trap the last time, and he's moved them all into the kitchen and pointed them at the oven. This whole idea, and he literally is mumbling to himself, they try and come in again, and I'm gonna get them. And it's great. It's like mad scientist stuff. I mean, because you've got all of these old televisions, and there's all of the copper wiring all over the place. You know what I mean? It's straight out of something from Dr. Frankenstein's lab in many ways, with all the sparky electrical type stuff that you always see in those Frankenstein movies from the 30s and the 40s, and he's wiring it all up, and like you said, he hits the button and nothing really happens, and he's sort of like, ugh. And at first my thought was he would, his when it didn't work, his thing was those bastards stripped down the electricity in space, to limit his abilities to do any of this stuff. And so then as he's sort of kind of trying to figure out what's going on, I think one of the TVs pops on, right? And
yes,
there's Jane Kasmerick. And there's Lily, and she's sort of where am I? Help me! And he's like, Lily? And he goes up to it, and then she kind of screams, and then that TV turns off. And then a one right next to it turns on, and there she is again, and she's screaming even more. And then suddenly it's multiple TVs she's on, and then all the TVs she's on, and it's different versions of her in each TV, because one of them, she's hey, come take my hand, and one is I'm lost, I don't know where I am, you have to help me. I mean, it's just different Lilies, right? And again, you're just oh man, he's having an episode, and at this point you're okay, is he really seeing this, or is this just in his head? And what do you think?
I don't see. That's the thing. I thought it was just in his head when the show first premiered, and we got the first couple of times where he saw Lily, but after, I think it was last episode, when we saw Blaine, excuse me, have this dream about Annalise being in the casket, and she glitched in his dream, then it feels like it's not something that's just isolated to him. So because of that, and having this happen again, and it was really, they've been kind of unsettling, all of these moments. It was really unsettling because there were so many screens, and she was in all of them. And she was also, physically, coming up to the screen, it seemed and banging on it, in a get me out kind of way. So it was very, very visceral, she's trapped somewhere, she needs to get out, or whatever. And it's very, it was really, and obviously, you wonder, is it something being created to play on his grief? Is it manufactured to scare him? Whatever it may be, I don't know. But I really don't think that it's just in his head. I think that there is something that's making this happen to him, and it's just a way for, whatever it is, let's say it's some other entity, let's say Mother in some way. There's some way that they're suppressing the people at the Boroughs with some type of control, some type of mind control. And in his case, he is easily manipulated out of his grief, and that's his big stressor. So I think it would have been easy to pass off as just someone experiencing grief. But like I said, the fact that in that last episode they put in just that tiny moment where the same thing happens to Blaine makes me think that there's just so much more than that. And no. So to answer your question, very long, but whatever. I don't think it's in his head. I think that it is something that is happening to him on purpose, and we just don't know why yet. We don't know who's doing it. If it's an entity that's doing this, if it's his reaction to some kind of, maybe that's how he reacts to, I don't know, some kind of radio wave in the air. Who the hell knows if it's environmental or if it's something personal that's making this happen. But no, I really don't think that it's just Sam having visions. There's some sort of outside force that is making this happen to him. For sure.
You think it's the crazy alien woman thing that's doing mind control. I think it's time, Diana, that we check you into the manor.
I don't know what it is. I just know that because of what we saw with Blaine, I don't think that there's any way that just Sam manifested this. Whatever it may be, however, whether there's some type of outside influence that just feeds off of your biggest fears, or your biggest, your toughest emotions, and then your brain just fills in the blanks. I don't know, but I'm just saying, I don't think for sure that this was just Sam having a dream about his wife or a daydream about his wife. I think that there's some other kind of outside influence there that's making this happen.
We'll just look.
What do you think about it?
I can't really comment. Sorry. So. I know. It sucks to know everything.
But it was. I'm glad you included it as a point because it still furthers that whole idea of there's something else going on that's happening in Sam's brain, and I can't wait to find out what it is, like how that is all manifesting for him. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah. So that's your number 3. Let me jump to my my number 4 real quick, because I love this scene where Wally is done for the day. Meanwhile, Wally he drinks the drink, the blood of mother,
the honey.
Yeah, the honey, the same thing that we saw
Blaine,
Blaine drink. Ugh. And also Hank had like that small
and we saw
vial.
Annalise like get in the tub full of it.
Yeah, a tub full of it. Ugh. So he has a cup of the goo, and he gets
by the way,
from work,
just before you go any further, did you notice that when he's at the party, and this is I made a point of checking it out this time, his forehead, he has like liver spots across his forehead.
Yep.
When he's there.
Yep.
And when he comes home and Renee is like, "Hey Ward," and he's like, "Hey June," which is obviously a reference for very, very old people. Yes. When he is doing this whole scene you're going to describe, his forehead is completely clear of all those, and he looks younger. So continue.
Yes. So they have this great scene, Renee and Wally, on his front porch, and it's all very above board, which again is very interesting because there's so many things, so many shows and movies where they would take something like this and make it secretive. It's basically like, I just had my first day at work helping the people who run this place take care of their monsters. You know what I mean? And it's kind of ridiculous, but also kind of refreshing, so he's like, yeah, I had my first day in the lab and, blah, blah, blah. And so that's what Renee is asking about, how was your
Well, more like, what's going on,
Yeah, because she's like, you look great. And, they get to talking about, he gives her the whole history, which, like I said at the beginning of the episode, was so surprising. He's like, they found
in
the
1949,
egg and goes through the whole thing. Yeah, back in
49. This
'49.
farmer found hidden in a cave this weird egg. Yeah,
An egg.
Literally, she's like, "Oh, we're going way back."
Yeah, exactly. So he gives the whole history, which was very interesting because it was nice because we're hearing it as well. So it's great. Like, let me tell you about my day exposition dump, which was great. And so we get that whole history, and she asks him, about, because he mentions the thing about the blood, and she's like, so they are, drinking blood, and yes, and it's, it's blah, blah, blah. And she asks, what's it like? Because it's clear the way he's talking about it that he had some. And he says, it tastes like sunshine, And then he gets angry. And he has this little speech that I thought was really great where he says, these fools have discovered the fountain of youth. They've been given the gift of infinite time. Know what they do with it? They play ball and make lavender cupcakes. They're dirty-faced children, squabbling over a toy they don't understand. But in the right hands, that toy could change the world. And then he continues on and just talks about how, in his hands, he could take something like this and, cure diseases and, cure cancer and all of this. And he's basically, and Renee cautions him and is like, or you could become a monster. And he's like, death is the real monster. Not what they're doing. So it's really interesting, when you think about, yes, Wally has, history of, he's a scientist, a doctor, whatever. And so he understands, researching and, all of this stuff. But it's also his personal experiences with death, and the fact that he was probably going to die within a couple months. It was the perfect person to pick because now he's going to defend what they're doing to a degree because he'll be able to live, and it's just really interesting when you think about the people and the, their background and, Sam going through what he's going through based on all of the grief that he's experienced, etc. But seeing Wally deal with, working for these people, and his conflict is based on the fact that, without that, Dixie cup full of sunshine, he would probably be dying in a few months based on what he was given. So it's interesting to see his character be the one that was chosen to sort of help them out, because of personally how he will react to being able to, not be sick anymore. So I thought that was a really great quote, and it said a lot about his motivation and how he feels about working with them, kind of to the degree of like being able to forgive them for some of the horrible parts of what they're doing based on the fact that they have this gift that they can use, and he's just mad because they're using it in the wrong way, not in the way he approves. They could use it, but he hopes that he can sort of help them use it.
I don't think he wants to help them. I think he wants to just take it over and control it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
I really like that whole. Like I said, this is the Wally episode, or one of the Wally episodes, right? Wally World. We're in Wally World for all you National Lampoon Vacation fans. Because Wally. I mean, this To go into Star Warsville, this is a dangerous time for Wally, where he's going to be tempted by the dark side. Okay? Because, like you said, I mean, there are so many reasons why he should be on Team Blaine, personal reasons for him. The biggest one is, not dying. But just that speech that you wrote down, that line. I mean, it's just unlike Blaine and all of the people that are in on it. And first of all, we see there's 8 people at least that are in on this whole thing, that are at that little party. Right. It's not like it's just Blaine and his wife and Hank. I mean, there's a ton of people there. Like Dr. Mansour, right? he meets him and Manster's like, you're part of this, and he's like, you make it sound so ominous, or he goes, you're one of them, and he goes, you make it sound so ominous, Wally, and he's just like, yeah, it is ominous, but at the same time, like you said, he sees the potential for, like he says, changing the world, and ending disease.
Right.
And he could do so many great things. And you're right, Renee is right there, because he says something like he finishes the line you have where he goes, in the right hands. And she's like, whose hands? Yours? And he's like, yeah, I could do, and you just, it's great because you can see it right there that, like, all of these people that turned out to be horrible, horrible, despotic rulers, at some point they probably had a similar thought, that if I was running everything, man, the world would be great and there'd be no pain and no strife and no nothing. And, again, it's the road to hell, right? What's it paved on? It's all those good intentions you have. So, I think this is real interesting because, let me ask you, is Wally still part of the Scooby Gang now after this episode? Do you think?
I don't know. I think he would be... I think it makes him a very conflicted member. I think he's still a part, but he's... I don't know. Because it's hard to say, like, would he do anything to, like, because you see Renee's plan at the end to go in there and, kill Mother or kill the creatures. And would Wally want to do that? Because if it's gone, he's going to die. So I don't know. He's going to be given something like, look at what they're doing to Sam, or, something like that to sort of turn him around. And I don't know what that would be. And I hope they can find something to turn him around, because I don't think he's against them, but I don't think he's a member of the Scooby Gang anymore.
I know, it's
and it's sad. It's really sad because he was my favorite. I love Wally.
Yeah, he is. You just where is his allegiance right now? Because like you said, you kind of get the sense that he's starting to go, well, some of the bad stuff they did. I mean, what choice did they have really? If you think about it, Hank had to like try and kill Renee. I mean, come on, Right. It's just I really think they do a good job of that, showing that Wally he's certainly not like 100% on Team Blaine, but he is like almost like starting to figure out, hey, there could be like Team Wally here. And Wally could run the whole thing and control this mama and all that stuff and the honey or whatever we want to call it, and because he's this medical genius, is going to be able to make it available to everybody and all that, and that's a powerful idea, and I did like the moment too, and I think this is earlier when he's talking to the new head of security for the Boroughs. So the guy's replacing Hank, basically. Yep. And and he basically says, hey, do you play pickleball? And Wally's like, pickleball? And he's like, I've been playing since 86, is what he said. And the guy looks like he's like 40, And
I love that moment, too, where he's like, oh, I'm 62. He's like, me too. And you're like, oh my God, he's like 40.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Ernest Newman is the character's name, and because Wally asks him like, okay, and then he looks at his name badge. He goes, Ernest Newman, who are you and what do you do here? Anyway, I just thought that was really funny when he's like, I've been playing since '86. I think I'm getting pretty good at it. He's like, I would hope so. You've been playing it for almost 50 years. It's like, yeah, I hope so. Yeah. Anyway, so I thought that was really fun. But you just sort of, like I said, you just see that Wally is looking at this situation and, is starting to like realize the possibilities. Absolutely. So yeah, that was, I was very close to writing that line. That whole conversation with Renee, I was very close to making that one of my points, but I'm like, no, I said that chance that if I didn't, you would. So
yeah. And what's great too about that scene is, you know, we are sort of placed into the you know, the slot of like Renee. Like we are the Renee in that moment where she's not being mean to Wally, but she's probing a little, like, well, whose hands should it be in? Like, is this the right, you know, basically, like, without saying it, like, is this the right things that we're doing right now? And she's very skeptical. So, you know, it's a really great scene because it feels like it's going to power a lot of what's to come. So I'm very excited to watch the next episode.
Yes.
So let's talk about your number 4. It's a really great art scene there.
Well, and this scene is right. It comes right after Sam has his little TV moment with Lily.
Yes.
Where he
right.
like literally like runs outside of his house into like the backyard or like the side yard or wherever, and I mean he is like visibly shook by what he is experiencing, as you would imagine, right? It's got to be traumatic. Does he, he's got to be thinking, oh my God, am I going insane? Am I losing my marbles? Could it possibly be real? Is that really my wife? Is she so, you know what I mean? All those things. So he's really in a bad way. And because Art like is just wants to get away from Judy, Judy is trying to rekindle the relationship and sort of try and get over the whole she broke the rules and fell in love with Jack thing that he's having a hard time letting go of. And so he literally gets up and leaves the house. So he's outside, and so he sees Sam, and he's like, hey man, are you okay? Are you all right? And Sam says, I think I'm going crazy, based on all the Lily stuff that he just, experienced. And Art goes, insanity is the only sane reaction to an insane society. And then he kind of pauses and he goes, and sure, it's crazy as hell around here.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that I was missing was like, he didn't say it was like, Wiz Khalifa or someone said that, right? Because he usually has like a name of some, probably not the actual person who said it that he thinks said it. So,
yes.
But yeah, anyway, I really like that line because it just kind of sums up this whole, why you feel like you're going insane, because right now we are living in an insane world. I mean, it's normal. Like, you're not insane. In fact, the fact that you feel insane means that you are sane, because you realize how insane everything is,
Exactly. When it feels crazy, then you're not crazy.
It's like,
you're like, this feels crazy right now. If you were actually crazy, you would feel normal. Just feel normal.
Yeah. It's like Jack Burton in Big Trouble in China, when he's like, I'm a normal guy, but just right now I've just been exposed to a lot of very unnormal things, and you're just like, yep.
Yes, exactly. Let's continue on with your stuff, because it sort of ties back into my number 5 eventually. So let's talk your number 5.
Yeah. Actually, this goes back to the party scene too. So this my moments were kind of all over the place.
Right, me too. So we're sort of all over
and so
here.
Back at the party, he has the moment where he talks to Ernst about pickleball in '86 and all that, and also he's kind of like tripping. He's looking at the lights, right, and it's all very psychedelic, and Ernst says, hey man, enjoy it while it lasts, because it like wears off after a while, and it's never as great. It's sort of your body builds up a tolerance or something to it or whatever. And so Wally then, after talking to Ernest, decides he wants to like see what's going on, and so Blaine like uses his swipe card to unlock part of the lab, and this big door slides open, and they go into like a hospital room kind of a thing, where there's a bed and you got the machine that goes ping and all that stuff in there, and clearly there's somebody in the bed, and we don't see it yet, right? The reveal is your point, at the end there of the episode, but we get Wally's reaction, and it's like, oh my God, he's got this. What the F is going on here? And Blaine kind of comes in behind him and is sort of watching him react to what he's seeing, to Mother. And again, I'm using air quotes here, people. And Blaine goes, Wally, meet Mother. And then there's this long pause, and he goes, isn't she beautiful? And then, of course, the scene cuts, and you're like, what beautiful? I want to see it. What are you talking about?
And then my number 5 is also about Mother, but I think we get the reveal of what Mother looks like at the very end, when Wally goes in there and he sees we see the whole process. We see one of the children, air quotes, come through this tube, then their little poker thing
good term
goes into this little receptacle, and it secretes it's kind of like taking a rattlesnake and doing the thing where you put the teeth into a
test tube or something.
On and it all their venom comes out. It's kind of the same thing. They stick their little pointy thing in there, and all of the brain fluid that they've stolen comes dripping out. And there's a process that shows that brain fluid sits in this big thing. Then it goes through another tube into another room, and then is pumped into Mother. And then we finally see Mother, because it shows Wally's perspective. He just he ends up putting his hand on the glass. He's behind the glass of her, sort of hospital room. And they show her. And my reaction is that Mother doesn't look the way I thought she was going to. Yes. So what were your expectations? Because I didn't expect someone to look like a human.
Mother was definitely way more human than I was expecting, just based on the children.
Yes.
Granted, we don't really see a lot of her. You don't see it.
Yeah, just mid-chest.
Yeah, so it's possible she's got all those spindly legs and stuff there too. We just can't see them yet. But yeah, I was expecting it to be very bug-like, to be honest. And Mother is just sort of the name that Blaine and his minions have given it, because it's it's providing life for everybody, and it's just be kind of a little play on words. That whole thing. But I was expecting way more giant spider than old woman that looked like she was in an old episode of the original Star Trek or something.
I really was expecting something along the lines of what we get in Aliens. When Ripley accidentally comes upon the Mother
sitting on the eggs,
having and laying the eggs one at a time, and she's this big huge creature, and then all of her younger ones, even the biggest ones, are not as big as Mother is. So that is really what I was expecting, was a much larger version of what we've already seen, sort of in the corner on a spider web or something. She's a partial human from what we know, because all we can see is chest up, at least visually, and she's in a hospital bed. It is not what I was expecting at all. Also, I looked at the face and I'm like, where do I know that person from? Looked them up on IMDb and I'm like, nothing. And then when I watched it a second time, I'm like, what is it about this face? Totally looks like James Woods. I'm just gonna say.
Fun fact, it actually was James Woods. No.
No, it was this woman, and she's done a bunch of other things, but just not roles that made me go, no, that's not it. It's not there was just something very that recognizable when I first saw her face, and I was like, I don't know what it is about your face, and then I went and I saw it watched it the second time, and I'm like, she totally fucking looks like James Woods. I'm telling you, people, watch it again, or just scroll to that part of the scene, and you'll see what I mean. So yes, James.
And actually, the gal's name is Nancy something. Nancy Taylor, is that it?
I think so.
Nancy
Something
Daly.
Like that. But it was it was one of those things where it's you see the name, and I'm like, yeah, it's not the name. Then I went through her list of credits, and I'm like, there's a couple of things in there. Yes, I've seen. and I've probably seen her in them, and I'm like, but that's not what's the thing that's in my head right now. I don't know what it was.
No, she is again a total working actor. You know, she's got, I think she has like over 50 acting credits to her resume. So, you know, I mean, yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
she's just one of those folks that, yep, you know, she just goes from thing to thing. Is she? Do you know her name? No, but when you see her, you're like, oh yeah, I've seen her before. You know, so yeah.
Yeah, I've seen her do like 10 things. And again, like I have seen her in other things. I don't know, there was just something recognizable about the face, and it wasn't until I watched it the second time I was like, oh, she reminds me of someone else who is not her, just visually in her face. So that's just me. All right, so let's talk about your final point, which is sort of there's a couple of different layers to it because it has to sort of get us into what your point is, but let's talk it through. Let's talk about your number.
Yeah, you know, the last point that I had, and this is kind of from a plot standpoint. This is sort of where now, like, you can see that for the last 2 episodes, everything is set up, right? That all the like there are plans in motion from both sides, right? That are doing stuff, and you're like, okay, you can totally see what's next, what they're gonna do, and that is. And we didn't really talk about it, but Paz and Renee have come up with a plan. Initially, it's to escape, and they recruit Judy, get her involved. Art is kind of telling them, you know, Art just doesn't want to be with Judy, so he's not there. Wally is, what did she say? Wally made a different decision or something like that, right?
Yeah, made a different choice.
Yeah, so whatever, he's out. And so then they're like, did you get Sam? No one was home. Well, Sam has had enough. Right, and he's basically like, I'm not sticking around here anymore with all the crazy Lily on the TV, and he like uses his engineering ability to figure out what the signal is that his ankle monitor frequency it runs on, and he like is able to create another device that is going to generate that, so he can, you know, destroy his and remove it, and they theoretically won't know, because, you know, this other like phone or something that he has is going to be sending that signal back to the security officer or wherever it's going, right? So he does that, and he literally walks through the desert all night to get back to that little diner that Wally was like, I'd go back there, you know, from a few episodes ago, right? And the reason is he does that is he wants to use a phone to call Claire, his daughter, and it has to be a phone outside of the Boroughs because he reasonably comes to the conclusion that they're tapping all the phones, and if he does anything here, they're gonna know. And again, the consequences of going against Blaine, as explained by Wally, is if you do that, they're going to put you in the manor as a crazy person forever, and you will never get out. You know, you'll spend the rest of your life in the manor, and you know, most likely the manor people probably get the children visits more than everybody else do. You would think, right? Because they're the ones that are the dementia patients anyway. So, you know, if they see something or witness something, who's going to believe them? Because they're cray-cray. You know? So anyway, he does that, and he makes it. He gets all the way there. He calls Claire, and we've seen throughout this episode, Claire has been trying to call him and trying to get him to answer the phone. And she has this great scene with her husband where she's trying to fix this like hover cycle or hoverboard for one of their kids, and you know, he kind of points out, hey, you can't fix everything and all this stuff. And so when Sam gets to the diner, he borrows their phone and he calls her, and he's talking about monsters and they're coming out of the ovens, and you know, all these things that if like the leader of that entire retirement community had just told you your dad's talking about some crazy ass stuff and he broke into a phone, if you were to start saying all that stuff, one of the thoughts you're going to have is, oh my God, my dad's crazy. Right? And so Sam is like, you got to come get me, and once we go back to your house, I can tell you the whole thing, and we just got to make sure everybody's safe because they're going to kill everyone. And so she's like, okay, I'll come get you. And so she does. and he spent the whole night walking, and so he's super tired, so he crashes in the car, and literally there's the scene where she wakes him up and goes, "We're here," and then what does she say, like, "I want you to know I love you," or something, right? Where you're like, oh, what did you do? And of course she's taking him back to the Boroughs, and Blaine and a couple of very, very large gentlemen are there to escort him into the manor and check him in, if you will. And it's great because he initially is upset, but then he pretty much is like, he kind of just goes with it and is like, "I love you and I understand." You know what I mean? He's not like ranting and foaming at the mouth and everything. He's just sort of like, "Yep, all right." And so he goes in. And so anyway, my point is that, Claire ratted him out, and this again is exhibit A, why you don't have kids, people. Because when you're fighting the monsters, they're not going to believe you. So yeah. But that sets up, like I said, the kind of the last act of the Boroughs, because now the Scooby Gang has to either escape or try and kill Mother, which is what Renee wants to do. Now they want to try and rescue Sam out of the manor. And also, what's Wally going to do? Right? He has decisions to make. And so you can just see it. You can see the plans are set in motion. And I think, doesn't Paz mention that, like, the next weekend or coming up is, like, the 75th anniversary of the Boroughs?
Yeah.
And it's going to be crazy because all of these family members will be visiting, and security's going to be stretched super thin. And, like, that's what he thought would be the great backdrop to try and escape, because you could get away. Because they can't focus on these small handful of people. So clearly, when whenever that is, and I can't remember if it's the next weekend or coming up, but that's the day, like that Saturday, that's when they're gonna, whatever crazy plan they're gonna hatch to do any of these things, that's when it's gonna happen. So
shit's gonna go down that day. That's what we're saying, people.
That's what we're saying, yeah. So, but yeah, so and again, I thought it was a really great way to end the episode. And of course, I think doesn't she drive back to Sam's house, and her husband is there at the house, and he's kind of comforting her, and Art's like, "What happened? Are you something happened to Sam?" And they're like, "Oh, we had to check him into the manor," and Art's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, but Art did a really good job. He played it off really well. It was like, "Oh, my condolences. Yeah. I'm so sorry." And he like turns and leaves them, and you can see he starts to walk a little bit faster.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, "I gotta go tell Judith."
I gotta go. Oh, hopefully she's done, smoking the good stash weed and eating the cheese by now, But the fact that Sam got pinched, that brings Art back onto the Scooby Gang as an active member, because he's like, "Let's go get our boy," and to Judy, and Judy's like, "Hells yeah," So again, we're getting the kind of that's like the galvanizing thing for at least Sam, or for Art to, we got to see this through. We got to figure out a way to get out of this and resolve this one way or the other. Either we're going to win or they are, but it's not going to be this, we're just going to sit here and count off the days while they continue on. So.
Right. Yeah. All right. Let's talk a little bit our honorable mentions, things that didn't quite make our top 5, but came really close. So your honorable mention, mine, you already brought it up, but let's talk a little bit more about the music in this episode. We talked about Rock the Boat, which was in the earlier scene, and I loved what happens right after that scene happens with Art. Art goes inside. He's smart, and he knows they're being watched. They're probably being tapped, recorded, whatever. And Judy's just listening to some music, and he goes in and he turns it up so that he can tell her, what's going on with Sam. Yep. We need to get together. We got to go get our man, right? But the song is this Temptation song that's called Smiling Faces Sometimes. And some of the lyrics are just so on point. There's one of the lyrics is, "Beware the handshake that hides the snake."
Yes.
And I'm like, this is perfect. It's a great song.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And again, it's diegetic because, like you said, she's playing it on their sound system in the house.
Which is great.
And then he turns it up and he starts talking. And while he's talking, we get scenes of Sam, like, kind of like going through the process of being put into the manor.
Yes, his intake. Yes.
And it's playing, and it's now, and those scenes, it's all soundtrack. It's all just for the audience. They're not singing along to it there while it's going on. But yeah, it's an incredibly great choice because of what the lyrics are telling you. I absolutely agree. And also, there's a scene earlier where Judy is like trying to cook something and she burns it or whatever. And she sort of has this little freak out because like the Alexa is like, do we need to call the fire department? And she's like, I don't want anything from you or whatever. But in the background, I think Love Train is playing as well. And I thought that was a great choice too, of like, come on, everybody, just go join the Love Train. Why are we fighting? So yeah, I thought that was wonderful. So yeah, the music for this episode was fantastic as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, really, really good. And you had a really good thing in your honorable mentions, and this is the perfect time to talk about it.
I do.
Like, after we've already sort of covered all of our stuff, sort of have like a topic to discuss. So let's talk about your last one.
Well, this is something that I picked up this time that I think the first time through it did not resonate with me the way it did this time. And I'm just going to say, I'm going to ask this question and I'm not going to say anything because I know what's going to happen. Okay. Good or bad, I know how this series ends. All right. So my question is that there is a great scene where Neil, which is Claire's husband, which is the guy that Sam doesn't really like all that much, remember?
Right.
And he, like Claire can't get in touch with her dad. And so then she's sort of like frustrated by that. And then she finds this hoverboard that their child owns, and it's clearly broken, like one of the wheels isn't even really attached. And so then the next scene, she has it like on the table and it's like all broken down, and she's like got the soldering gun out and is like rewiring stuff on a circuit board. I mean, she's like really into the nuts and bolts of this electronic device, this machine, And Neil shows up and he sort of tells her like, what you're doing, this is kind of an allegory of your whole life, that you think you can fix everything. And no matter what it is, you can fix it because that's how your dad was. And he taught you that way. And you are a lot like your dad, and it's a really nice, great speech. And he ends up by saying, the thing you have to realize is that you can't fix everything. And clearly we know he's not talking about the hoverboard. He's talking about what's going on with Sam. And I mean, to me, my question is, obviously that little moment directly affects her decision to turn him in, I think. But my question is, he seemed really eager and was really pro, like, man, we got to commit him. And that he's gonna do something, hurt himself, or maybe hurt someone else if all these things are true. And my question is, we're starting to see how big Blaine's little group really is. And do you think there's any chance that Neil is involved in some way with Blaine and his group? Because we've seen Neil go to the Boroughs already.
I don't know. It sucks because, like, I didn't get that vibe. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I didn't get that vibe. But now I don't know because you brought it up, but you know how it ends.
I do.
So I'm like, I don't know. I will tell you this. I didn't get that vibe. When I opened up our notes before we got started, I saw your note and I really thought about it, and I didn't get that. I really didn't get that vibe. So I'm not sure. If anything, I think I honestly I don't really know. I don't think he's involved. Because it just didn't give me that vibe. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's totally possible, but if it happens, I'll be surprised because everything he did up until now, to me, didn't feel suspect in the times that I've watched the episodes. But now I'm going to be looking for it. So we'll see. All
right, good. Again, just like I said, when I watched it the second time through, and I was making my notes and stuff, that whole conversation just kind of stuck out differently than it did the first time through, and I went, that's interesting. I wanted to ask you. So, and the question goes out to everybody. What do you guys think?
Yeah, curious. So, folks, send us a note, send us an email. You think Neil's involved?
Or is he just, trying to be a good partner and, a good son-in-law and a good husband and all that stuff, and just sort of reminding Claire that, sometimes she gets a little involved in things and thinks she can repair and fix everything, and there are some things in the world you just can't fix. Who knows?
Can't fix, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you could also chalk it up to, she's a lot like her dad. So if he sees her dad starting to wrestle with reality, that's their feeling right now, he could be, out of an abundance of caution, want to show Claire that you can't fix everything because her dad is like that, and if he doesn't want her to become like her dad, it's more intervention-y for her, maybe, as a husband. I don't know. But again, I don't want to know because I know you know, and now I don't know, but someone has to know. So now we got to watch the next episode and figure it out.
Well, the thing to remember is that you know that I know, and I know that you know that I know. But I'm going to pretend that you don't know that I know that you know that I know, and you're going to allow me to know that you know that I don't know that you know that I know. So there you go.
Right. It's as clear as mud, everybody.
Mud. Yes.
Anything else that we should talk about before we take a break here?
Just that I think all of us should run out to our local Costco and see what kind of cheese they have. Because clearly, Judy really liked that Beretta. It was all over it.
Yeah, I know.
I know we didn't really talk about it much, but I did appreciate just these were much tougher scenes between those two characters where they're really kind of like, where are we? And, where are we going? And, she's totally on the, you got to give me another chance. We got to get past this. And what does she say? We've got 44 years banked. And you're just going to throw it all away. And he has that great line about, I went out looking for enlightenment and all I found were thousands of dead birds and a dead man's shirt in your closet. What a line! Oh my God!
I know, it's great. It's really great.
It's
great.
Like, man, you know what? When you're fighting with your girlfriend or your wife or your husband or your boyfriend or whatever, that's and it's getting vicious. That's the kind of line you want to be able to land, man. And it's just
oh yeah, absolutely.
So, but I like I said, I really appreciated the fact that that we're seeing the consequences of that, which in a lot of these kind of shows you don't really get necessarily. Where he would have forgiven her by now in some other shows where it's or it'll be we'll talk about it later kind of thing. And I like that they're no, we're going to talk about it right now because things are not okay. So anyway.
Yeah. I agree. All right. So yeah, folks, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to discuss our listener feedback we received and what's coming up next on the podcast.
So everybody, please stick around because we will be right back.
Now there's about 20 of them out there.
What will we do?
Don't worry, we're safe in here. They'll never get in.
Why is it that in every zombie story, people always think that their safe haven is invulnerable?
I know. It's like, hello, the walkers are totally going to get in. You better get ready for it.
No! Diane, get behind me. No, it's not stopping.
Do something, Jack!
And another thing, how come nobody in a zombie story has ever seen a zombie story?
Do you know how much time in human life would be saved if just one person in the group was up on the genre?
What do?
Aim for the head.
What?
Aim for the head.
You heard them, aim for the head!
Quick, Diane, I think we should try and fix the barricades.
I think we should listen to them.
Now, that's the first good idea they've had all episode.
I still don't think they're gonna make it.
Aim for the Head, a horror apocalypse entertainment podcast. Join hosts Diana and Steve as they recap and discuss the best of horror, sci-fi, fantasy, and apocalyptic entertainment. Aim for the Head, available wherever you listen to podcasts. Find us on Instagram and Blue Sky.
Hi, I'm Ross Marquand, and you're listening to the Aim for the Head podcast with Diana and Steve. And remember, always aim for the head, because body shots just don't work.
Hey there, everybody. We are back. We're going to jump quickly into our listener feedback. Then we're going to chat a little bit about what's coming up next on the podcast, and et cetera, et cetera. So first up, we were obviously on break for a little bit because of 4th of July for the holiday, and also Steve was on vacation all last week, so we took a week off, and you haven't heard us in your ears for 2 weeks now. And in that interim, we got a really great email from a, I don't know, long time, but you know how it goes. Long time listener, first time caller kind of thing. So this is, I think, the first time we've heard from this listener, so we wanted to make sure to include their feedback, and it's good stuff, man. So this is an email from listener Martha Kura, and Martha writes via the email, Dear Diana and Steve, I just listened to your podcast on episode 5, obviously the last episode. If you're interested in the writers of the episodes, this interview with the writer of episode 7, which will be next week's episode, was posted on YouTube a few days ago. So she includes a link there. I'm going to send this out to our our Facebook group, and I'll probably include it in the show notes, folks. So
Cool.
If you're interested in those, that interview with one of the writers, have at it. She continues on and says, you made a great point about Blaine seeing Annalise glitch in his nightmare. He must have some kind of experience with it, which we, again, talked about a bunch in this episode because of Sam's continued experience of seeing Lily glitch. So yes, thanks for calling that out there, Martha. She continued on and says, I agree that the dirty clothes in the tub of goo was disgusting. You made a good point that it would be terrible if they had to do another take of that scene because the actor would have to shower and be remade up. Let's hope that they had duplicates of her clothes handy. I certainly hope so. To reply to Erica's comment about how Gina Davis stays so spry, well, she inherited very good genes from her father. He was impressively active into his 80s, which I did not know, so thank you. She continues on and says, I only wish her long kiss goodnight moment had come earlier when Hank was trying to abduct her. I couldn't believe he overpowered Charlie Baltimore. She says, happy 4th to you. So this was sent to us right before the 4th. I have enjoyed listening to your podcast while I get things done. Best regards, Martha. Martha, first of all, thanks for writing in. We love a good email. It's a really great and very direct way to get in contact with us. So listeners, please feel free, send emails. And like Martha did, she sent it after she listened to the podcast. So maybe she'll write in again after listening to this week's podcast. So Martha, if you do, please feel free, send in your thoughts and we'll put them on next week's podcast. Martha brings up some good stuff. I love that she responded right to Erica's comment, which was at the end of last week's episode. And yes, I love that other people are noticing the glitch that Blaine saw, which I think will come back to haunt us in the next couple of episodes. I hope that will reveal further, as we discussed earlier. But thanks again for writing in, Martha. We love hearing from new people, and we hope to hear from you some more. So thanks again for writing in. We really appreciate it.
What I also really appreciate, Martha, is the long kiss goodnight reference, because I didn't say that, but when Hank kind of overpowers her and picks her up and kind of throws her along, and in the back of my head, I'm like, oh my God, she would have totally killed him. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know who you're messing with here?
No kidding.
But yeah, so I have a very, very similar wavelength there, because when that moment happened, I too went I don't think that he would be able to do that. So.
Yes. Love the comments. Thank you again, Martha, for writing in. We hope you write in again.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so moving along now this feedback we have here is about episode 6,
Correct.
The Grey Rebellion.
Yes.
So here we are, and of course it's from our P1 listener, the lovely and talented Miss Erica Price. Hello, Erica.
Hello again, Erica.
How you doing? And she sent this in via the Facebook, and she says, "Hi, friends. I hope you enjoyed your break. I'm with Sam, too. No deal." That's true. At the beginning of the episode, he's like, go work yourself.
Yeah.
And then she wrote LOL. She goes, "So what's gotten into Renee? Pause. Whoops, big cold shoulder from the pause."
Yeah.
Although there was a reason.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And we find out,
he was a little scaredy cat there, yeah.
He was clearly aware that they were under surveillance, and that he had kind of somehow skirted that, like they didn't suspect him because he was back working. Although he did have a partner now, which was a little we hadn't seen before. But yeah, there was a reason for that. So then I love this next comment because we did. And she wrote, "Did you hear Rock the Boat playing when Wally entered his new lab?" Yeah, we did.
Don't tip the boat over.
Oh, it's so good. It was so good.
Love it.
He goes, "If Shaw wants our squad to cease investigating, why did they leave all of Sam's equipment in his house?"
She makes a fair point.
Good question. Good question, right? And then Lily's trapped somewhere, ? So Sam's up to no good, but aren't they watching him? Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think they're more like everybody has like that like Alexa thing in their house, and he like ripped his out, right?
Yes.
Did he not? And so it's possible that in his house they are not quite surveilling as much as they are in Renee's house or Wally's house or Art and Judy's house. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure how much intrusive stuff they're doing inside the house. It's a good question, though. Good question. Then she goes, "Damn, Art, holding out on some Costco burrata?"
Not no more. Now everybody's going to go buy it.
That's right. He goes, "Not cool, man." And then she goes, "WTF, Claire?"
Yes.
And I agree, because you're like, no, but it's funny because you could totally see that coming, right?
Yes.
You just knew that Blaine had planted all of those evil ideas of, nope, your dad's nutballs and you got to do something to save him. And oh yeah, it was awful. Then she goes on to say, "I still don't understand what the dead birds, cave peach tree, and all the trinkets hanging off it have to do with this monster. Or are they not related?" And all I can say is nothing.
Terrible.
Terrible.
How dare you? Anyway.
But anyway, great feedback, Erica. Thank you. As usual, right? You usually, every time you write in, it's always great. So
Yes.
love to hear your take. And some really good points.
I love how
good points.
Yeah, I love how Erica's posts are always that she sends in are always like stream of consciousness.
Yes.
Like she's just like writing things down as she's watching the episode. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
I can't
awesome.
ever get enough
It really
of that. So thanks for writing in. As always, Erica, we love hearing from you.
Yep.
All right, so coming up next, this is not necessarily about episode 6, but just a general sort of feedback from our listener. Genocide Doll is the handle. I suspect the person is Jen, because I think I saw that in like a like on one of our posts or something like that. But I don't want to assume. I think the person's name is Jen, but Genocide Doll is the name they go by. They sent an email, and the subject line of the email says, "Not really feedback." So it's not feedback, folks.
It's not.
And the email is exasperated. "Thanks a lot." "I started watching the Boroughs. I didn't plan on it, and I was just going to listen to you two talk about it. Apparently, you talked it up too well, and I'm now watching it instead of getting stuff done around the house or restocking inventory. Now I'm invested. I adore the characters and the storyline. Instead of stressing about inventory and working till my fingers hurt, I'm relaxing and watching a good show, and it's all your fault. I hope you are happy with yourselves. Well, let me tell you, I'm always happy with myself. So, and I suspect since Steve is cold and dead inside, I don't know that he feels happiness. So that's hard to. Do you feel happiness?
I just feel nothing. So if that's happy, then yes.
Then yes, I is happy. I'm gonna drip with sarcasm on this. We're so sorry that we made you watch the Boroughs. We're the worst.
We're worse than Blaine.
I mean, come on. But we wouldn't make you go into a bathtub full of goo with us, because that's just weird and kind of gross. But thanks for your feedback about how much you enjoy the show. We appreciate it. So now you're watching it, then that means you have to send us feedback. You specifically said this was not really feedback. So now I challenge you that we need to get feedback for episodes 7 and 8. So that's what I'm giving you.
I think so. I think that is wait, challenge accepted?
The gauntlet has been thrown. All right. So speaking of episodes 7 and 8, the last few episodes, next week we will be covering episode number 7. Title of the episode is called Time to Go. And I hope that means like to get a plan in motion, because, these folks are close to, they were in the final chapters of their lives. I don't want them to go anywhere, as it may be. But we'll see. So the episode description that we have for episode 7 is Sam, Judy, and Wally uncover a new side of the Boroughs. Ooh, Wally's involved. I enjoy it. But doesn't say that they do it together. So maybe that's who knows.
You know what? Let me just stop you. I am pretty sure this is the episode description from like episode 5. Because Sam, Judy, and Wally went down into the sewers, and then Renee and Paz go on the road trip where Hank tries to kill them, and then at the same time, Blaine tries to convince Claire to put Sam in the manor. So I think that we got the wrong one on there.
Oh, God. I know. I'm the worst. I mean, sometimes you just type it. I blame the fact that I probably had, like, the fat finger thing. Anyway, so Time to Go. The actual description is, as the anniversary party approaches, reveals a painful secret. The gang gets in gear for a high-stakes rescue mission at the manor. Now, that sounds a little bit more timely to what we expect to happen next week.
I think that's a little more on point.
Okay,
there,
so that's a little bit more on point. So don't mind me and my rampant copy and paste from IMDb, which was incorrect this week. My apologies. So next week we'll be seeing more about that anniversary party we were talking about, and obviously they're going to stage a breakout at the manor, so hopefully that works.
Yeah.
All right, so what else is going on in the world? What are we watching, recommending right now? Steve, you mentioned last week the movie Overtone. Right? Undertone. I'm so sorry. I haven't watched it yet, but I do have it on the DVR, and my plan is to watch it at some point this week. So that is currently on HBO Max if folks are interested in that. Steve did talk about it last week.
And actually, this is going to be really good because you are completely alone in your house this week. So you should watch it at like 2 in.the morning with all the lights on. Not gonna happen. Okay.
No. I'll do it while the sun is still. See, right now we're in the middle of the summer, so the sun isn't really going down until close between like 8:30 and 9. So I figure if I start it at like 6, 7, it should still be light out when I'm finished with the movie. Right, so we'll see.
I guess. Scary.
So there's that. That's coming up. I'm gonna be watching that, but I hadn't quite watched this series yet, but I am a little over halfway through, and I'm very excited. I'm watching The Pit on HBO Max, and everyone loved it. It's got all the critics raving about the first season. Second season just finished not too long ago. And I'm right now, like, I think I'm 2 episodes into the second season. I was very surprised. We are so used to streaming series being like anywhere between 8 to 12 episodes, 12 at the most, and usually it's like 8 to 10, really. The Pit is 15 episodes, which is, I mean, dude, we used to watch, 25 to 28 episodes a season for certain things. So it's just crazy that it's now that 15 is a lot, which it is. So yeah, so 15 episodes. I binged over the last few days of season 1 of The Pit, and I'm a couple episodes into season 2. But what are you watching right now? Anything you recommend?
Well, I spent a week not really watching lots of television, so
that's right. You were just on vacation, and you don't get a lot of service up in Wisconsin.
So it's like a very outdoorsy kind of place to go. So not a bunch. I mean, and also there was kind of a wide range of ages of people together because it's a big family thing. So got to watch appropriate stuff. I mean, one night we watched the original Westworld with Richard Benjamin and a very young James Brolin, and of course Yul Brynner, and different than the series, people, but still a classic from like 1973, I think that movie came out. So we watched that. Of course, it was 4th of July, so we watched Jaws because that's what you do. And we watched just other stuff. We watched, like, Project Hail Mary is now available on Amazon. So that was.
Yeah, I watched Project Hail Mary. I forgot the other night.
Well, then I'm giving you a thumbs down. So there you go.
Why?
Because that's what Rocky does in the movie.
Oh, right. Sorry.
You sure you watched it?
I did, but when you said I'm giving you a thumbs down, like, you generally are hard on me. So I was like, what did I do? That was incorrect.
No, Rocky's thumbs only go down, so he.
Yes, I get it. That was a great movie.
It really was. So that, and just like a lot of stuff like that. So unfortunately, no. There are a couple of new movies that have premiered or debuted on AMC Plus that I am going to get into, and one of them I believe is called The Apple of My Eye, or something about the apple, and it's Lily Reinhart, who is an actor who was on the Betty and Veronica show, Riverdale, right? That was on CW.
Yeah.
She's one of the leads in that, and this is a Shudder thing, so it's all horror. And then the other thing is, it looks like, I can't remember what it's called, like The Wish or The Wish List or something, and it looks to me like it's kind of a take on The Monkey's Paw, that there's like, people have this skull, and if you make a wish to it, it will come true, but of course there's all the consequences. You wish for a bunch of money, and then like someone that you really like dies, and you get the money in the inheritance, or so, you know what I mean? That kind of a story is what it looks like. I've not seen anything beyond just the trailers, but no, I didn't really do a lot of TV watching this past week, I'm sorry to say. So
you have more.
I hope so. Yes. This Friday, of course, Evil Dead Burn comes out. Mm-hmm. So that should be something that we'll see. I don't know when I'm going to get to go see it. And then, of course, there's a lot of the big summer movies are coming out as well. So there'll be lots of fun stuff at the movie theaters as well as on your TV. So get out there and go to the movies.
Yeah. And after you go to the movies, can I suggest there's a big, deep catalog of movies that you can do in respect of when we record this is Monday, July 13th, when we recorded this episode, and we got the news much earlier this morning that beloved New Zealand actor Sam Neill passed away. And it was unexpected, but I guess his family was with him. And today has just been an outpouring of tons of people with tributes about what a great guy he was. And Steve and I were talking right before we got started that it's amazing to us that it was really just less than 2 months ago that we sat down and we talked about Event Horizon, which is, people that have seen that movie say it's probably one of the best things he's done. It's definitely in a top 10 without question. So he's got a real storied career. There's about 150 credits in there. And there's a lot of things that you probably haven't seen. If that's your thing, Dead Calm, Event Horizon, Mouth of Madness, The Piano, I mean, just to name a few, you can certainly go down that road. But he did so many smaller movies. So just pick something in the next couple of days and honor Sam Neill, who was really a great actor and really just a great person. He did a lot of really great things, and he was very involved in the environment where he lived and spent all of his days in New Zealand. So yeah, Sam Neill, gotta love him.
Yeah, absolutely. It was quite a shock, and I mean, we were talking about it. Just I know it wasn't like just yesterday. It just seems like it because before we started the Boroughs, the last thing we reviewed was Event Horizon. And just and I think at that point, I think we talked about it that there was some talk that Larry Fishburne and Sam Neill had indicated interest in possibly doing a reboot or a sequel or something, there was some about it. And so, you kind of had this idea of, oh, he's going to be around for a while. What are you talking about? And then just boom, he's gone. So yeah, it's quite shocking and sad, that's just someone that I think more times than not, when you saw his name in the credits, you were like, well, it's going to be good just because he's going to be there.
Yeah, and he was he dealt a few years ago with a rare cancer diagnosis and beat it, because it wasn't too long ago. It was just barely like 5 to 6 months ago that there was a statement that he made that he was considered cancer-free, which was another reason why this was, sort of surprising to hear had happened. But he also was constantly working, and he's got 2 in the can that he's worked on. So there's still some movie, there's some screen time for him still in the future. I come from a real interesting perspective because, we joke a lot. My wife pops in here all the time when we're recording. He is a very, very devoted fan of, one would say almost strangely devoted fan of Sam Neill.
Obsessed, perhaps?
Our office is decked out. There's all kinds of Jurassic Park things. She has copies of so many of his other smaller movies that a lot of people maybe haven't seen. And she's on vacation currently, so I literally had to text her this morning and tell her how sorry I was that, he was her, we all have a favorite, and that he was hers. And I'm so sad that I was telling Steve beforehand that I believe it was just C2E2 this past year that a large, not a large, but a decent sized group of Jurassic Park actors actually came to C2E2. We had the 2 kids, and Wayne Knight and B.D. Wong were there, and they were doing some group shots and things like that. And I had it in the back of my head, maybe one day he might do some kind of, convention somewhere. Never say never. There's been a real sort of trend these last few years where you see like an actor that you're like, you never would think would do a convention, and you're seeing lots of actors that are doing them, one-offs here and there, and there. And I was like, oh, maybe one of these days he'd hit one. And I was, always, had the plan in my head. I'd, have my wife be able to go meet him, and,
they run away together,
speak, whatever. Yeah, probably. I mean, I'd never see her again.
Well, no, what would happen would be she would come over to us and we'd be like, did you meet him? And she'd be like, uh-huh. And then it'd be like, did you talk to him? And she goes, uh-huh. Did he say anything back to you? And she'd go, uh-huh. And we said, what did he say? And she'd be like, no idea.
I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea.
Which is based on a true conversation we had at one point at a show. So
yes, absolutely. She actually has, because of her, I don't want want to use the O word, the obsession word, but her devotion. Her devotion to Sam Neill has actually opened up a couple of movies of his that I otherwise would have never, ever seen. There were a couple that I've seen that I can easily recommend. There's one that he did that he's very, very proud of from back in 2016. And it was directed by Taika Waititi, and it's called Hunt for the Wilder People. And it's a really, really cute movie, and it's one of her favorite movies of his. So if you want to pick even one of them, there's also a really good one called Palm Beach, and it's, the usual, like, family drama kind of, group of friends get together to have this, weekend at this beautiful place together, and they're all got these long histories together. But it also has Richard Grant, who is a really good friend of Sam Neill's, and also Brian Brown from FX and lots of other movies. And he and Sam Neill are like best friends in real life. And so Palm Beach, I would recommend that. We've watched that here in this house. And also there's a cute movie that he did, and you may see it talked about because Rainn Wilson posted something about it because he's in the movie with him. So in his tribute to talk about Sam Neill today, he brought this up, and it's this little family drama. It was done during COVID. So that's why a lot of people didn't see it, but it's Sam Lobb in it, and Susan Sarandon is in it as well. And like I mentioned, Rainn Wilson. And it's just a really, really interesting, I thought it was a really good movie. And so if you're looking for something different from Sam Neill, then I can recommend those ones for sure, that my wife has made me watch, and I enjoyed them. They were good.
Right.
I would say out of all of them, I really, really liked the Palm Beach one. That was really a lot of fun. Richard Grant is hilarious. I like him a lot.
Just one from interesting enough, a Hugh Grant movie with him is Sirens from way back in like the late 80s, early 90s, I think, maybe mid 90s, and that was one of the things like that was that. It was like he was in like the third Omen movie. That was one of my first references, like The Final Conflict, I think it was called. And then obviously Dead Calm. Which Philip Noyce directed that, and The Amazeballs, George Miller produced it, and I'm sure helped direct that. And that was the introduction of Billy Zane and kind of Nicole Kidman, like one of their first entries to major films. And yet the rock of that movie is Sam Neill. He is just so good in it. I mean, they're all good, but he's so good in it. And that was it. And then obviously Hunt for Red October too, which were kind of in that same area time frame. But you're right. A huge catalog, so many things where you're like, wait, he's in that? You're like, oh yeah, he's in that, So if you get a chance, I'm sure they're all going to be, made available and will show up on the, recommended to you lists on all your streamers, because that's what they do. And this is not a bad thing, because if you haven't seen these in a long time, or maybe you've never seen them at all, it's worth it. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll close on that note there. A little Sam Neill. Yes. Put a little bit, watch a little something of his, and think about him. And he had a vineyard there in New Zealand. So maybe have a glass of red wine while you're thinking about him. When you're having your second breakfast, think of him. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else we need to chat about? I don't think so. I think, we're sitting on, I think, about 3 weeks to Flashback Weekend. And 5 weeks to Fan Expo. So the two big shows are almost here, which is shocking and scary, because that means the year is more than half over. And what happened? I know. So getting ready for that. And, you're just getting ready to go to them. I'm prepping for major surgery, as several of my organs are going to be removed and then sold for cash. So, it's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, if you guys haven't heard Fan Expo Chicago, he already was going to have to sell one of his kidneys because John Carpenter is going to be there, but Kurt Russell is now going to be there.
Yeah,
so
Kurt Russell.
His other kidney will now need to be auctioned off to the big.
Well, and I'm going to sell off one of my hearts and one of my livers, so I should be fine.
Wait, no, wait, just one of your livers because you don't have a heart because you're cold and dead.
No, it's cold and dead. So.
Oh, okay. Will anybody want it though?
Yeah. Look, it's not my job to figure out where these things are going. I'm just removing them and getting paid for that. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so that wraps it up this week, folks. We look forward to chatting with you again next week. But until then, as always, I'm Diana.
And I'm Steve.
And don't forget to always aim for the head.
Because those body shots, they just don't work.
To send us an email, write us at aimfortheheadpodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @AFTH Podcast. Pictures and video are always welcome at our Instagram account, Aim for the Head Podcast, all one word. But the best way to keep in touch with us is to just like our Facebook page to get all of our updates in your feed.
Well, I have to say I'm definitely a little disappointed that we won't get the interruption by Sarah at some point this episode. So that's just...
I mean, I can call her if you want.
No.
You're okay with that?
I'm okay. I'm okay. So.
Okay.